Charles Sumner, a senator from Massachusetts, dedicated his life to the freedom and civil rights of slaves. He advanced the cause of equality more than many of his time. He is a champion of freedom. After graduating from Harvard Law School in 1833, Sumner took a tour of Europe, visiting a number of different countries and learning how government was conducted in each one. On one occasion, Sumner attended a lecture about slavery, which heightened his racial awareness. After this awakening, Sumner realized how differently black men were treated in Europe than in America, and when he returned, he began in earnest to address the issue of slavery. Sumner made his first public appearance with a speech entitled The True Grandeur of Nations, made July 4, 1845 at Faneuil Hall in Boston. The speech called for peace in the world, adopting some of the philosophies he learned while in Europe. From there, Sumner was elected senator in 1851 as a representative of the Free Soil Party, a Massachusetts political party opposed to slavery. Sumner immediately began to speak on behalf of anti-slavery policies and legislation, and reminded the senators of the inhumanity of slavery. With the passing of the Fugitive Slave Law in 1850, which forbade the harboring of fugitive slaves and called for slaves to be immediately returned to their masters, Sumner drew upon his own anti-fugitive slave bill, which he presented on August 26, 1852, as his first major speech in Senate entitled Freedom National, Slavery Sectional, adopting a popular motto of abolitionists. As slavery assumes to be national, so, by an equally strange perversion, freedom is degraded to be sectional, and all who uphold it under the national constitution share the same epithet. Sumner made clear that slavery and freedom could not coexist, and that slavery was contrary to the constitutional rights that guarantee freedom. In one of his most well-known moments as senator, Sumner made a speech entitled The Crime Against Kansas. To understand this, we need to look at what preceded it. In 1821, the Missouri Compromise outlawed slavery above 36 degrees 30 minutes north latitude. However, in the Compromise of 1850, California was admitted as a free state, and to appease slave states, the Utah and New Mexico territories would vote on whether to be slave or free upon entry. While civil war escalated. In the end, over 200 civilians were killed. Sumner presented his Crime Against Kansas speech as a reaction to the atrocities that took place during Bleeding Kansas, as it came to be known. He railed against the Kansas-Nebraska Act as well as publicly humiliated those who wrote it. The speech was distributed across the country within days, and thousands of people read the fiery words of the Massachusetts senator. Among those readers was a man named Preston Brooks, the nephew of Andrew Butler, the senator from South Carolina. He approached Sumner, who was at his desk in the Senate chamber, writing after a session of the Senate on May 22, 1856. As he approached the desk where Sumner sat, he said, "Mr. Sumner, I have read your speech twice. It is a libel on South Carolina and on Mr. Butler, who is a relative of mine." Before he could even look up, Brooks grabbed Sumner and struck him on the head with his cane. Sumner, shocked, tried to get up, but knocked over the desk which was originally bolted to the ground, and was pinned beneath it as Brooks rained blow after blow on his head. The brutal attack continued as speechless senators in the Senate chamber gaped and did not react. Lawrence M. Keitt, another senator from South Carolina, stood next to Brooks, armed with a cane, to make sure no one harmed his colleague. If not for two senators from New York, Sumner would have been killed. They went past Keitt and took Brooks off the unconscious Sumner and brought him into the vice presidential chamber, where he was treated for his wounds. The caning left Sumner a bloody wreck. For months he was confined to his bed, and it was not until 3 years later when he would finally re-enter public life. The attack intensified tensions between Northern and Southern senators. The Northern senators concluded that the South could only respond with violence to the intellect of the North. Divisions escalated and hostilities grew. After a